All right, please continue eating. I wanted to get started a little bit early to give our speaker enough time to make sure that she can present the materials that she has here. And thank you all for being attentive to this. But please, if you need some more to eat, there's still plenty over to eat. World Polio Day is October the 24th. For every dollar raised with this, Rotary International will match 2 to 1. If you would like to make a gift through that, you can do that on the My Rotary website, and that will tie that into our club as well. So our club gets credit as well as you all going for that Polio Plus. Rotary Leadership Institute has been set for October the 21st. It's going to be at Murray State University. That's from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and that is our time. So if you'd like to be a part of that, network with fellow Rotarians across the state, please let me know and I can get you more information on that. Rotary Readers, Brandy McCubbin had talked about that a few weeks ago. There's still a sign-up sheet for that. I have that up here at the podium. We can get that to you following today's meeting. If you'd like to sign up for Rotary Readers, make sure that you see me to be a part of that. Our Day of Giving is coming up on November the 10th, and I have asked Frank Cheatham, Dr. Frank Cheatham. Sorry, that's another dollar. I'm getting all kinds of dollars, but since Frank hasn't been here for, what was it, 12, 15 weeks, something like that, my dollar goes back to him.
Some of you remember if we missed a time, we had to put in a dollar. Remember that, Jim? And sometimes you missed a certain number of times, you were kicked out. But I'm glad all that changed now. I'd be broke. Thank you so much for signing up for the Day of Giving. I'm going to pass this around again. There are some open slots and we still need people to sign up. So please sign us up. And Andrea, will you pick it up at the end? And I'll just start it here.
Jack, I know you already signed up, but still.
I need some ideas on trucks. I went to Century 21. We have their truck. That's great. I did go ahead and Jason's gonna pick up one, hopefully maybe at the university. We got that in the works. I did go to Harmon Furniture and they said, come back in a couple of weeks. We need to know what our schedule is, but and she's very positive and, you know, it was a great opportunity for us. And went to some other places, they said, no, can't do it because our insurance doesn't cover that. And I understand that, you know, so, but if you have any ideas on trucks, I'd appreciate if you would share those with me so I can contact those individuals. So that's always a big deal, getting the vehicles to use and getting people to sign up to do that. So please sign up and let me know what you think about possible avenues to find vehicles to use. So thank you. Really have a box truck. We can use your pickup, yes, but the box, we actually need box trucks because, you know, if it's raining or something, we need to make sure that the food is covered and we need more space than we filled up the bed of those pickup, those trucks pretty quick. So a box truck if possible, yes. Or a trailer. Last year, Leslie provided a trailer and I think that worked pretty well. So thank you.
Another component to the Day of Giving is sponsorship opportunities. Yeah, I would love to speak to that, please.
Sure. And so we always give people the opportunity to be a sponsor of the gift. This is a way to get a little publicity for them and it's just help the cash side of the event. Last year we raised about $1,600, I think. I went back to the same sponsors last year, we're already over 2,000. But I don't want anybody to feel like we didn't give you an opportunity to be one of those, particularly, you know, in Rotary. All of you that have done it before have already committed to go do it again. But if you have a business or you work with a business, or you represent a business, and you would like to be a sponsor, let me know. We'll get you on there, get you on the center, a sign and a banner. We're doing $100, $250, $500, and so I've already got one $500 and $250. So that was a grand for $350. So come along, like. So I didn't want to leave anybody out.
Thank you for hitting that up. I appreciate that. As you know, October leads into November, which also leads into another time frame right after November, which leads to be Christmas. Miss Debbie. Yep. Would you and Miss Sherry like to come up and present some things? Nothing like getting put on the spot.
For the cookies.
Actually, we are just talking over ideas and decor and a theme, and we'd like to stick with the candy cane thing because it is our Christmas parade thing. And before we get into the Christmas party, I think we should do the hot chocolate again at the parade. So I will get that up and then later ask for volunteers to help with that. But getting back to our Christmas party, so that we have an idea of how many would like to attend. We then we can check into places to have our party, and that'll give us a better idea if we could just get an idea of the head.
We
So-
didn't throw out a that.
Okay.
So we'll get that and we'll.
All right, so let's do this. If you're interested in attending a Christmas get together, raise your hand.
Put your hands down. It's a party.
All right, so majority of the people here today would like to have that. So there's your number.
That's an idea.
Yeah, 62 for that number. We'll get some dates together and then get that back out as well. And Spencer, when we were talking through the line there just a second ago, said that out of all of the district clubs that attended RILA, our club sent the most students there. So Spencer, Maddie, Alan, would you all like to say a few words about RILA?
Well, I'm gonna talk a little bit now, maybe to say something. Gail has been here many times, and the committee kind of covertly created a new award. That's the Gail Floor Leadership Award. And, was able to present her that, but we wound up with 41 kids present, which is really great. We needed 40 signed up to make it happen, and I'm hoping to get 30, wound up with 50 signed up, and 41 actually made it. We always had some, stuff like that. But I'll report it was a great weekend. Spencer sent me a text actually I was asleep that night, and I got it the next morning. One of his kids had already texted him, said it was the best weekend of their life.
That's awesome.
That they wanted to sign up to go back next year as a junior leader. Maddie's team brought home every award that there was to bring home. She kind of looked like a starter kid. So Maddie, tell them a little bit about your experience.
It was an absolute blast. My legs are still recovering from getting around campus, but I was the biggest kid out there with them. And to watch these kids, we would go from so I checked them into the barracks and watching these kids come into the barracks, like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And then next thing you know, a couple days pass and they're completely different kids. There were, they stepped up the challenges that they've never probably faced before. They learned to work as a team and not just on a surface level teamwork, deep communication levels of teamwork in a very short amount of time. And just watching these kids transform, it's been absolutely amazing. I highly recommend going if you've never been. Just watching these kids, they're our future, and I feel good watching them go and do that.
Andrea's daughter was able to go to play, had a great experience. So overall, it's a fantastic weekend. Already looking forward to next year. So everybody knows we're going to go Rotary.
Awesome.
Spencer was a large part of the reason we had to make.
Just doing your job, right?
I like it, so might as well go.
We do have an event, first Wednesday in November. I think RILA kids and Community kids are gonna be here to talk about their experience.
Yeah, they wanna be here. They asked me when they come and talk.
Yeah.
So.
They just want out of school.
Yeah,
That's all
I
it
get the
is.
conditioning on Monday and just several were my wrestlers and they're like, go John, they tell me all about it. They're like,
Yeah.
where can we go? We wanna talk about it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we've already
Yeah.
invited Gail too that day,
So you said November?
Yes,
Okay.
perfect.
There's
Perfect.
a-
What's in the-
23rd of October.
Lexi Stewart is a development coordinator for the National Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Manages donor relations, annual giving campaigns, and planned giving. Lexi graduated from the University of Kentucky with a degree in community and leadership development. Her senior practicum sent her to sent her in Words, man. Sometimes they just get, I need another cookie. In the philanthropic direction. Before joining the museum's team, she worked in higher education fundraising for her alma mater, held various roles in 501c6 organizations, and developed problem-solving skills working for major freight carriers. According to Lexi, her fundraising skills began in the 4th grade as a top Girl Scout cookie saleswoman. Did you bring any with you today?
Yeah, a little bit.
In her free time, she enjoys spending time with Rosie, her 4-legged best friend. Please welcome Lexi Stewart.
Want me to turn it off before I take it off? I'm a walking talker. Okay, thank you all so much for having me today. Like they said, I am Lexi Stewart. I'm the development coordinator at the National Corvette Museum. I've been privileged to be there since February of this year. I have jumped straight in. We have had all of our big events for the year. I've got to travel several times with the museum. And I'm really excited to talk to you all today about how we started, how we've grown, and where we're at now. The museum is multifaceted, and I think that there's a lot of aspects of it that not everybody thinks of or would associate with a museum, especially one centered around cars. Okay, so the idea for the National Corvette Museum was kind of long in the making. In the late 80s, the NCRS group, the National Corvette Restorer Society, talked, and it was proposed that there needed to at least be a Corvette library. There had been so much in the engineering and design and creation of America's sports car that they didn't want to let any of those details slip by. They said, you know, we remember it, but who will? Who will after that? Just with Corvette's impact on America and the automotive industry, they felt there was a great need. So in November of 1990 in Bowling Green, they opened the Museum Annex. This was originally just a library space. There were archives where you could view some original documents that had come from the planning and creation era. In some of these photos, you can see where that is. It was a very small space compared to what we have now. That area now is a little strip mall. There's, I think, a Mexican restaurant, a couple of other things. But we've definitely grown into our new home, which is still growing. So the space you just saw fulfilled the needs for about 2 years. After that, interest grew, collections grew, and it was time that the National Corvette Museum had its own permanent space to itself. So in June of 1992, they broke ground on what is still our campus today. In the photo there, you can see Zora Arkus-Dentov. He's nicknamed the godfather of Corvette. He was the first chief engineer of Corvette. So it was his ideas, along with many others, Harley Earl, Bill Mitchell, that really brought the original Corvette and several of the later models to be what they are. Along with him in this photo is his wife, Elfie, and then also Dave McClellan and Ray Battaglini. All of these folks are actually Corvette Hall of Fame members. They have all played very significant roles. I just want to touch on Elfie, Zora's wife. She had such a big heart. She and Zora are actually both entombed at the museum. Their ashes are part of an exhibit. But in everything that they did, she said, we want to give back. So they were essential in the creation of the museum and the philanthropic aspects of it. But at the museum now, we also have Elfie's Pearl Sisterhood, which is actually a giving society of women within our museum membership. So construction took place for about 2 years. In the photos above, you can kind of see how our iconic spire started to come to be. And then Labor Day weekend, 1994, the museum opened for the very first time. As you can see from the photos, it was not a small turnout. It was a huge success, a huge event. People from across the country came to be involved in this. We hold an anniversary event every Labor Day weekend now, celebrating the museum's opening. So we do that every year, but every 5 years we have what's called a caravan year. We actually get people from across the country, the continent, and the world. The museum has 38,000 members in every state and 18 countries other than the US. So talk about a big community. And this is kind of where that all started. So you can see, you know, people were even willing to put the grand opening on their car. The crowds in the bottom left photo, that kind of tube with the Chevy logo on it is actually a time capsule. And that is intended to be opened in 2053 on Corvette's 100th birthday. That's buried in, if you get to come to the museum, we have a grass circle outside of our main entrance. It's buried right there. So it is a super fun piece of the museum's history. So, like I said, the museum, since its beginnings, has kept grabbing people. It's kept growing. And in 2007, it was decided that we needed more space than what had originally been constructed. Originally, there was space for the library and archives items. We were starting to create more specific exhibits with different pieces of Corvette history. It was starting to have that interactive experience that you may associate with museums. But in 2007, they wanted to have a designated space for the library and archives. They also opened the Corvette store, what was formerly known as the Corvette Cafe, which is now our Stingray Grill. We added a conference center, and we added our museum delivery area. Are you all familiar with museum delivery? So a couple yeses, couple no's. It's something I really want to touch on because as a nonprofit organization, we want to get people in the door as much as we can. And one of the big ways we do that is that when you buy a new Corvette, instead of having it delivered to the dealership through which you bought it, you can have it delivered to the museum and pick it up there. You get a whole kind of VIP experience. One of our technicians will walk through the car with you. Every button, every gadget, they will show you exactly how everything works, every detail of it, and then you actually get to drive the car right out of the museum. So it's a program we love, and in 2007, they decided to incorporate that. It's a good partnership that we have with GM. One thing I do want to notate is we are not owned or operated by GM. We have a good working relationship with them, but we are our own separate entity. So in 2009, that expansion and construction was complete, and the museum started to take the shape that you all might be familiar with now. Also around this time, NCM Insurance was created. So a separate branch from the National Corvette Museum itself. We kind of have, it's a trifecta. So there's the museum itself, and then there's the motorsports park, the track that you all are probably familiar with. And then we also have NCM Insurance, which is a collector car insurance agency. So 2009, on the left is what we looked like on the interior. Those are cars that were there for delivery, like I mentioned. And then that's where the outside. So in 2013, the track, or the NCM Motorsports Park that I mentioned, construction began for that. This was a huge undertaking. We felt like we had, accomplished our mission of showing, how the car came to be, all of the different models. But you can only talk about it so much before people really want to feel what their car can do. And we want to show people, all of this design and engineering that went into it. We want you to feel that. So in 2013, construction groundbreaking for the track began. And in 2014, the track opened. We are honored that we are able to partner with so many different groups. It's not a track for Corvettes only. Any make, model, Groups come out. I think our first paid customer that actually ever ran on the track was a BMW group. So it's definitely a way that we like to connect the car community and not just the Corvette community. We've also done Trek at the Track, which is where we opened it up to the local community to be a safe run, walk, bike ride space. And prior to the tornado, we did Twinkle at the Track, which was a huge Christmas light display around the track. Unfortunately, when the tornado and the second tornado hit in late 2021, a lot of the facilities in that area were damaged. So right now they're kind of in a construction period with the facilities, but the track is still open, running. We've added high-speed karting and a couple of other entities. In 2021, we actually got the opportunity to kind of revamp the Corvette Cafe. Previously, it had been a 50s style diner, and we wanted to elevate that just a little bit more. So it went from the Corvette Cafe to the Stingray Grill because of the Stingray Corvettes. And it itself underwent some remodeling, and then we also introduced a brand new menu. This is the wrong set. So this morning, we had sent over a set of slides and then another set of slides. So we could switch over to that other set really quick. That would be awesome.
The other one is just a Word document,
Not a PowerPoint.
not a PowerPoint, it's a Word doc.
I'll talk about what you all can see while we work through that. Actually, let me stop really quick. Do you guys have any questions thus far? I don't mind to present, but I'm much more of a conversationalist. Yeah.
So if you buy a Corvette and have it delivered there, they still have to pay shipping and handling charges since they're built right there?
They are not quite what they would be shipping to a dealership. But we do have a little bit of transportation incurred. They still have to load them up on the big trucks because they're you know, they, other than that initial test right off the line, and then when they're moved from our garage just out into the boulevard, they've not been driven. Yes, this is what we're looking for. So in 2021, our grill underwent some revamping, and in 2022, our store did. So the Corvette store is the GM licensed Corvette merchandise distributor. It's also kind of like our museum gift shop, but there's a lot more to it. And so in addition to remodeling, we also got a brand new merchandise line. Driven by design. So this was a really fun exhibit that was opened last year. This exhibit, in showing the design side, a lot of times we focus on the engineering, the aerodynamics, the mathematics, all that went behind it. This took a more artistic approach to showing all of the different ways that Corvettes can and have been created. And while I could talk about this exhibit longer, there's a video involved that I think does it a little bit more justice.
The design and construction of a functional mechanism is akin to any scientific advancement.
Welcome to the great conversation, one that has taken place for 70 years. This is a conversation that has defined generations, from those early discussions behind closed doors to the now iconic shouts echoing around the world. It wasn't always an easy conversation to have. We had to find our voice and learn how to speak our minds. This is a conversation between human and machine, form and function, shape and speed. That's only the tip of the iceberg, pinnacle of a process that begins the depths of our history. It begins with Harley Earls, Larry Shinoda's, the Bill Mitchells, and the Marcus Duncan. It begins deep below the surface where the Mako sharks and the stingrays reign. It wasn't always smooth sailing. Corvette almost never made it off the starting line. But once she did, She scored. Driven by Design is a chance to experience this conversation, to pierce the walls of time and become immersed as history speeds from those earliest sketches to the clay models and concept cars, all leading to the jewel that's glistened in America's eye for decades. And if you think the conversation is over, we're just getting started.
Thank you. So like I said, Driven by Design takes more of an artistic approach, but it also focuses on the people behind Corvette. One of our big things, in addition to showing the history behind everything that it is that we want people to be able to relate to and be inspired by the people who have put their time, their effort, and their work into the creation of the iconic Corvette. So this year, we have an area that's called our limited engagement gallery. And so it changes every year. There's something new there. So if you've been to the museum before, but it wasn't in 2023, it's different. You have to come back. We get a lot of people, especially locally, that say, you know, I've been to the museum. And well, this year or last year, we try to change things up as much as possible. We try to keep things interesting, new. There's so much to Corvette that in our current structure, we cannot put every collection item that we have on display at once. So we are constantly rotating, revamping exhibits, reshaping them. This year, we're really excited to have our custom charisma exhibit, the legendary creations of Carl Casper. Carl Casper is actually a native Kentuckian that was very involved in creating cars that were out of the box. They were exotic. They were not something that he ever anticipated would be, you know, a hot seller, but it was something that he wanted people to see and go, wow, I didn't think of that, or that is so cool. And one of his creations is actually the Batmobile that was in the Batman Returns movie. And we have that on display in the museum right now. It's super cool. Some of his other cars, he has an almost entirely chrome car. He's got a popcorn machine car. And, you know, while none of these are technically Corvettes, the tie-in here is that he preferred to use Corvette engines or look at the chassis or the Corvette body styles in his design and production. Another special thing we opened this year was the McMichael Family Education Gallery. This is 2,500 square feet of hands-on exhibits. There's something in there that ranges from the different types of leather that are used in the car, the seat belts, the science and connection behind the Mako shark, the Stingray. There's areas in there where you can, there's like an iPad station, and it will actually walk kids through designing their own Corvettes. This area is truly intended to help us further our goal to be a more educational institution. Everybody who walks through that door, we want them to leave knowing something they didn't before. But a big piece of that is that we want people to come to us to learn. A lot of times, you know, we're a stop on I-65. That'll be fun to pass through on our way to anywhere. And especially now with the Fund a Field Trip initiative I chatted with some of you about earlier, we are trying to get as many young people in as possible because we now have the resources to do something really interactive and educational with them. An American Love Affair. So if you didn't know, this year is Corvette's 70th birthday. And to honor that, we've opened the American Love Affair exhibit. And this really highlights the pop culture and the change over years that Corvette has been involved in. I have another quick video for this one. This exhibit opened June 30th of this year, which is actually Corvette's birthday. And so yeah, if we could play that video.
On the topic of Corvette stories, innovation, design, and experience are all words that describe Corvette and inspire us as we live the Corvette lifestyle. That's why I'm thrilled to debut how we've reimagined this space using the inspiration to create an experience of sight and sound that is astonishing. Hold on tight. We're gonna flip that switch and take you on the unexpected, unprecedented journey that is 70 years of Corvette. Let's see what happens.
So in that video, I'm sure you all were able to see the screen that goes around the wall and all of the people. And this is kind of really where I want to hit on something I've been chatting about since I'm here. That space is where the sinkhole was. So the sinkhole has been filled in. We have still an exhibit about everything that happened, the impact on our structure, but also on the museum ourselves. But it has been filled in. There is a small space where you can stand and look and see how far deep, but it is a fully functional enclosed space again. Awesome. So like any nonprofit, we have a mission statement, a vision statement, and a brand promise. We are a 501c3 foundation. And like I mentioned earlier, the mission of the Corvette Museum is to educate worldwide audiences. And we want to educate them on everything that we can, but we want to use the story of the Corvette to do so. You know, the Corvette itself may not be the piece that sticks with every kid, but seeing somebody who looks like them, who was involved in the design or engineering, or hearing a story about how just, you know, looking at sea animals influence the design of a vehicle, the connection, all of that. A lot of what we do is solely based on promoting that educational piece. And while I've talked a lot about how we want to promote education with kids, we want to educate people of all ages, of all demographics, of all groups. And so that's one of the big things that we focus on in our exhibits. And the vision statement like that as well. Just one thing, we want to be the epicenter of Corvette. So there's the assembly plant. Across the street from that is us. And right under the interstate from us is the motorsports track. Truly, if you are looking to get the Corvette experience, you can get all three in one very small space. So another thing right now that we're working on is AAM accreditation. I'll just touch on this briefly, but there are very few, well, there are a lot, but it's a very high level of accreditation and standards that must be met. In our pursuit of this AAM accreditation, we are essentially looking to be a museum that operates on a Smithsonian level. Just a couple of cool things we have in our collections. So we have a 1953 cutaway Corvette and chassis. That Corvette turns on and you can drive it. Even though it's split in half and you can see every piece of the inner working on one side, it goes. We also have the XP987 GT and the 1973 two-rotor Corvette. And we have the 1 millionth Corvette. Well, it did take a dive into the sinkhole. It's back, it's out, it's fine. We also have the original Corvette emblem. So when Corvette was originally produced, this was the idea that they had proposed in trademarking for their emblem, but at that time, the American flag could not be used in any sort of branding or marketing. And that actually influenced the change that we see in the logo today. And we have Zora's letter to GM. Like a video previously mentioned, Corvette almost never made it off the line. But Zora Arkus Duntov, the chief engineer at the time, wrote a letter to GM explaining his reasoning why, but promising them it would be worth it. So yeah, back onto the educational topic, we offer field trips. We love to host them. We also do scholarship programs. So it's a naming opportunity now. We like to kind of, like I said earlier, educate all ages. And so while our field trips are usually designed for elementary, middle, high school students, we also offer scholarships to collegiate students. That's usually involved with an internship at the museum. We love to give them hands-on experience in their field or anything that we can offer them. And then our Fund a Field Trip program. In this program, we actually take donations. And then once that is accumulated, previously, it had been a first come, first served type of program. Schools could reach out to us and say, you know, we have 20 students in this class, but we don't have the funding to take them on a field trip. And so we would get, you know, just some verification of Title I status or a 501c3 youth-centric organization. And then we would be able to cover the cost for them. We have begun a new initiative now, and our goal is that every semester we will be able to go and surprise an entire elementary school with a free field trip. Yesterday was really special. We got to kick that off for the first time. So we got to go to Warren Elementary in Bowling Green, and they have almost 700 students who will get to come on to the property of the National Corvette Museum for free, spread out through the remainder of this year. Yeah, and then just really quickly, I want to talk about the economic impact that the museum makes. So about 40% of the revenue that we bring in is contributed. That's donations, that's memberships, that's raffle ticket sales, anything that you can think of along those lines. That makes up 40% of our annual revenue. Oh, and then like I mentioned earlier, underneath our holding company, we also have the Motorsports Park and NC My Insurance, both of these being for-profit entities. And then here's our total. So the museum itself still makes up that majority. Even in everything that our insurance and the Motorsports Park does, the museum is still creating the bulk of that economic growth. Okay, one more thing I want to hit on really quick. I thought it might have been added in there, but we recently started doing an economic impact survey with the Bowling Green and Warren County area. Does anybody have a guess on so the 3 entities that I listed, how much do you think that might bring in to the community's overall budget a year? Throw them out.
10 million.
Good guess. Anyone else want to throw a number out? On an annual basis, between the museum and the Motorsports Park alone, we bring almost $83 million into the community. So it is no small feat. We're happy to do it. Our events generate hotel reservations, restaurant reservations, anything that you can think of in the tourism sector, we hit and we help. And we have so many great partnerships with people in our local community. And we are really excited to keep expanding that growth. Thank you.
Is there any interest on Corvette to do an electric car?
Yeah. So the E-Ray is actually going to hit production lines in early actually, I believe it's already hit production line. So, yeah.
If the person wanted to buy you had like one of the original Corvettes. I mean, do you manufacture some of those or somebody, but that, so you don't want you to have that, it's just have one that would.
Yep. So
you don't make reproduction.
Correct. Yeah. Right now on the production line, they just recently finished the 2023 models. 2024 has started. And then in back and forth based on sales will be that E-Ray as well. But no, there is no reproductions of past ones. But we have a plethora of Corvette clubs. So if you were ever looking for an older model or something like that, these clubs are folks, again, across the country and across the world. And we a lot of times we'll get, I really love the split window 63s. And so we can put out a message to all of our clubs and just say, do you all know anyone who is selling or would be interested?
Do you still sell tickets to one of the Corvette?
Yes. So as long as you are in the state of Kentucky, you can buy a raffle ticket. So
how many of those do you give away for
the raffles? Yeah. 12 to 15. We try to do at least one a month. And again, that is kind of part of our partnership with GM. So it's dependent on their ability to supply.
Mm-hmm. So back to his question, back on electric. So when they go electric, that's taking away your gas?
Yes. Yeah. So then it's called the new E-Ray, a play on the Stingray. And it, like I said earlier, I don't have the full answer to every question. I wish I was more in on the design and engineering side of it. But I will pass out my cards, and if you all have any further questions like that. I believe that it is entirely electric, but it may be more of a hybrid situation. I don't believe so.
Well, the Ford plant is having to be revamped for electric vehicles. Will the Corvette Museum have to totally be revamped?
So they have already done some of it. Because of the way that it is structured, once a car gets moving, the line never stops. So there was, they have off weeks where they will just shut down. We don't know it in advance. The actual workers don't know it. other than the Thursday before. And they're usually kind of vague with us about why supply chain issues, this, that. But there was a pretty big one recently that we believe was the revamping of some of their lines and getting in some of the actual machinery that'll be needed for that production.
And I'll add that my husband won one of those Corvettes.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Very informative. Thank you so much for that. Next week we have Kentucky Kids Belong. Leeson is the last name. Forgot the first name. I think it's Danny. But she'll be here next week to talk about Kentucky Kids Belong. CHS Culinary will be there. Club Day will be on the 25th. Interact RILA update will be on November the 1st. So let's stand and we'll close with a 4-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? I also have the Rotary Readers sign up here. So if you would like to help to sign up for that,